it would be really good if we were able to share some of the discussions that have some parts of the Monday discussions. Alberto's already doing some of it.
Right. Well,
But
I've got this device. I do what Nina does. I've got the device. I spoke with her on Saturday, and
good.
she just uses a little device, which I'm using an old phone to record.
Yes.
So at the moment, I'm quite happy with that because it's easy for me. I looked at that email and it swamped me. There was so much information. I just, what do you do with it?
You mean the what's already been transcribed?
No, just all the sites to go into. The email you sent me.
That's something else. I sent you a second email.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, that's the only one I got.
Okay, I'll send it to you again. No, the one I sent you, I couldn't cope with that either. I sent it to you by mistake. It's like Ajahn is here. Hello, Ajahn.
Is here. Swaddi, Ajahn.
Swaddi ka. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Okay. Please carry on.
Yes. Okay. Does anybody have anything they'd like to start with?
Can I start first so I can go later?
Yes.
Yes, thanks. Last time Sarah mentioned about the Sanya Vipalasa. And I think Sarah said that it's including Titi, Vipalasa as well. So can I explain what I'm thinking? For example, like if I don't have panya, but I see, because I still see objects around me, people around me. So that means I'm seeing the nimitta. So because I'm seeing nimitta, do I have sanya vipalasa? And that including Titi Vipalasa. Thank you.
There are three kinds of vipalasa. One is Titi Vipalasa, another is Sanya Vipalasa, and Chitta Vipalasa. Altogether three. They arise with the akusala chitta only. So at this moment of seeing, what is seen?
I'm still seeing objects and people surrounding me, but I understand that they are nimitta.
Yes. So at that moment, is there any understanding of the characteristic which is not self there? Which
no, just
at
seeing.
all. Only
no, just seeing.
Characteristic of absolute reality. Of an absolute reality.
No self in it, but just seeing.
But chitta is there after seeing.
Yes.
What is that chitta which arises after seeing? 3 moments, and then what after that?
Ajahn, you mean thinking after that?
No, not yet. The object hasn't fallen away yet. After seeing, there are 3 other moments, and then what? We talk about the asava, right?
Yes.
It's the bhavasava, kamasava, titthasava, and avijjasava. Where are they?
Can't see them.
After seeing 3 moments, can anyone know that moment? 3 moments after seeing or hearing. What are they?
No.
Can anyone?
No, can't see them.
But at this moment of whatever appears, there is attachment to that object instantly. Is that right?
Yes.
And that is asava. And when it's wrong, it is titthasava. And when it's I, it is Tittisava. And then avijja is there and pavasava is there. Is it needed to understand that, or to understand that actually there is no understanding of whatever appears in the day. If we try to classify them, at that moment it is still I who would like to understand what is there, while Panya is not enough to understand that. So what is now appearing can be object of understanding because its characteristic is known as it's seen, but not as it is. That's why all appears are nimitta of that which arises and falls away it so rapidly that what is seen is only nimitta of that, because the actual one has gone completely, never to return. So just learn about this moment to understand that actually there's no self, and this is the point of studying. And without the understanding of what appears as it is, as the self, it's impossible to eliminate the idea of self from moment to moment at all. And if there's no understanding of this moment as it is, how can there be the other moments of understanding more and more reality in a day? While that cannot be known, but that which is now appearing can be understood. Listen to the teachings and begin to understand that even in the whole day, there is no idea about the truth of it as just a reality. But after hearing the teaching, considering carefully, that which is known is now, this moment. If you think of other things, it's not moment of understanding what is there now, never to begin. So instead of thinking about that which is not known yet because it does not appear, but there is ignorance at moment of seeing. So we can begin to understand that ignorance is there as an outside which does not arise, and avijja and everything follow instantly. Very difficult, very hard to experience that or to try to think about it. It's only thinking. But what is now appearing, we don't have to think, it's seen. So the truth of it is only that which can be seen. At that moment, when there is understanding, there's no vipallasa. Because the object, the characteristic as it is, begins to be object of understanding little by little. And this is the point of studying the teachings, not just to think about it, but to understand that which is now appearing, which cannot be understood easily, depending on how much understanding of the words of Buddha. For example, there is seeing the whole day, no understanding of any moment of seeing. Is that the usefulness of studying the Dhamma? But the usefulness of the Dhamma is from hearing, there's understanding that actually there's no one, no self at all. That's why this can be accumulated to sometimes think about that, just to think in the beginning, and later on, right understanding understands that thinking is not the direct awareness with understanding from hearing a lot about it, to understand that moment as just a reality that cannot be taken for anything at all, because it appears and later on, Panya can experience directly the arising and falling away of that. But not with the idea of self, trying to think about that or this at all. Just know that at moment of no understanding, it is vipallasa for sure, because it cannot understand the truth or the characteristic of the reality which is not self, which is now appearing all day, all the time. So that should be the understanding of the point, the destination of the understanding from this moment, leading to what? To understand the truth of what is now appearing. And when there is the idea of self, it hinders instantly. I all the time. I'm thinking, can I know that? Should I know this? Not now, see? But from hearing, life exists only in just a moment. So even there is hearing now, there is no direct understanding of any reality yet, because right understanding is not enough because of I always hinder all the time. So this moment is so very worthy to understand. Even it is nimitta of many, many realities arising and falling away, but just a moment of beginning to know the difference between intellectual understanding about everything now and the moment of direct awareness to begin to understand a characteristic at a time by another's. No one can do anything. Like now, while talking, this seeing, no one can make seeing arise or thinking arise at all. But there is talking, see, all the time, unknown all the time in a day. So even listening to the teachings, there can be no understanding of the reality right now. So what's the use of how many years or how many lives to just listen without understanding that, listen about that which is now appearing, which can be known only. The citta before seeing cannot be known. The citta after seeing cannot be known until there is attachment, which when it's strong enough, it can be known. But when it's so weak like asava, even right now, it cannot be known. But from understanding little by little, the asava and the anusya can be object, which panya only can understand, but no mentioning about what level at all, because it's only the beginning of understanding or know that this is the object of understanding. No other moment of life, no matter you think that it's so great, it is quite like panya, but no understanding of even one word of the teachings of the Buddha. It cannot be panya, right understanding of what which is now appearing. So if anyone try to help you to understand what you are thinking, asking, is it possible to understand or to remind about what Buddha taught is about what is there every moment, even right now? Even so, hearing about seeing so many 100,000 millions times, it doesn't mean that there is the understanding of the true nature of reality which sees as not self yet. It has to begin to understand the anatterness. No one can condition such high level of understanding to arise, but from understanding right now, it's so very, very way to think about. It's not I, it's only that which sees, and that which sees is the moment of experiencing. Without the reality which can experience, it's impossible for anything to appear. Like without seeing, the visible object or something which is there as things cannot appear. But the truth is that what is that which can be seen cannot be taken as hard as table or chair. Learn to understand the true nature of reality as not self. From now until there are enough conditions for direct awareness to arise, by then the intellectual understanding is strong enough to condition the moment of direct awareness to begin to develop the understanding of no self, no one, because in the beginning, it's not clear at all about that which is direct object yet. From hearing a lot as intellectual understanding, it depends on whether it's enough to understand that reality as it is or not clear yet. Because what appears clear has to be to vipassana jnana, that we can say that so clear because only one reality can be an object only. Nothing can appear together at all. Even back then, who can understand the asava and the very, very weak kilesa? It can be known when it's strong enough, only that. And this is the depth, the subtlety of reality, which no one knows without understanding the teachings little by little until it's strong enough to condition higher understanding little by little. So very little, because now no understanding yet about that which experiences as not self and that which appears as nothing, only that which can be the object of seeing only. That's the reason that shall we talk about that which cannot be known? But there are realities now which can be object of understanding little by little because it's there all the time today. Eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind, and the objects through these doorways. No one there at all.
So
many words one can think about from the book when we read, but can that be object of understanding right now? Impossible. And no selection to have such and such as object at all. The most important thing, the truth, the absolute truth, the Four Noble Truths must be the characteristic of reality as not self is known to panya, which develops little by little. Can you select to understand the aswa as object when there is vipassana jnana? Impossible. It depends. All depends on the right conditions for any moment, any object to be experienced.
So Tam Tan, in summary, you were asking about the vipalasas. So after seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, and 2 more vipaka citas and 1 kiriya cita, then either kusala or akusala citas arise. Nearly always akusala citas. Nearly always there's ignorance and clinging to what has been experienced. And at those moments, the citta is perverted, it's citta vipalasa, and the sanya arising with it is perverted, marking the object of citta that is perverted. So sanya and citta vipalasa is all day in the sense doors as well as the mind doors. Whenever there is thinking now, and it's not with kusala cittas, in other words, most of the time, there is sanya and citta vipalasa. And in addition, whenever there is any wrong understanding, no matter how very subtle as asava, even in sense door process, then there is ditthi vipalasa as well, taking what is not self for self, taking what is impermanent for permanent, taking what is unsatisfactory for satisfactory, and so on, taking what is foul for being beautiful. So the perverted citta and sanya and even ditthi is there, unknown most of the day. So this is what we were talking about, the vipalasas. It's actually about this moment, even during Dhamma discussions. We may think that during a Dhamma discussion, there are kusala cittas because it's Dhamma discussion, but far more akusala cittas, with Sanya Vipalasa and Chitta Vipalasa, or if there's just trying to understand the point or trying to catch the reality, Ditti Vipalasa is there already, unknown.
So Sarah, today come three together or all the time, or just Sanya and Chitta Vipalasa come only, and then Ditti come after, or Ditti come first?
Every akusala moment in life, there is akusala chitta and akusala sanya, chitta vipalasa, sanya vipalasa. Even the anagami that hasn't eradicated the last remnants of ignorance and attachment has chitta vipalasa, sanya vipalasa with the akusala chittas, but ditti vipalasa only arises when there is wrong view arising, not with every akusala chitta. If there's just ignorance at this moment, just clinging without ditti, sanya and chitta vipalasa, but not ditti vipalasa. And the Sotapanna eradicates all kinds of ditti vipalasa, no more wrong perception that what is anatta is atta, or what is anicca is nicca, but so no more ditti vipalasa for the Sotapanna, but still sanya and chitta vipalasa right till the end, right until every akusala anusya has been eradicated.
Thank you so much. This is very good.
Thanks, Tam. Good to hear from.
Sarah, but thinking and trying to understand the word as I'm doing now, it's not necessarily Ditti Vipalasa. It can just be Chitta and Sanya, no? With Lopa.
Usually when there's the trying to understand or trying to be aware, usually I think the unknown self is there, the idea that self can be aware or can understand. So the Dittasava is so very subtle. So only when Panya knows can it knows, but usually when there's some trying to understand or trying to work it out, I think the hidden idea of self is usually there.
But not always, because even now I'm trying to understand what you're saying. It doesn't look like it's Ditti Vipalasa all the time.
Who knows unless there's Panya at that moment that understands that very subtle asava, who knows which moments there is Dittasava coming in and which moments there aren't. So it's not a matter of how it seems or how it feels, but it depends on Panya to know, like the very subtle traces, last traces of Ditti, only highly developed understanding will know it when it's there. And I think it's like Ajahn when talks about the ocean of ignorance and just the surface akusala is known. So who knows at those moments when it seems there's no idea of self when trying, who knows whether it's really there? I think more and more becomes apparent.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, because there's so much ignorance, it's only Panya can know. So the rest we're just speculating as I'm trying to work it out and think whether there are moments without Ditti in trying to understand the words, the meaning of the words. But I think even in theory, it can be with or without Ditti.
So at this moment of trying, like if there's trying to understand visible object now, for example, or trying to understand what is vipalasa, what kind of chitta is it that is trying to understand at this moment?
No, I see a difference between trying to understand visible object and Vipalasa from trying to understand the meaning of Vipalasa, for example.
only Panya can know at the very moment when there is that trying, whether it's Kusala Chitta or just Loba, or whether there's Ditthi there. We can't just say from the situation, but I think that so often the trying is with an idea of self behind it. So, but it really depends on Panya to know.
And would it be that the trying to know, there's probably much more trying to know than we think there is. Because it's so much through the asavas that it will be a long. Every once in a while, I find myself thinking, you know, I sometimes I can say, right, trying. I can see, you know, I can understand intellectually that there is trying there, and more than intellectually, but not with direct awareness and understanding of it. But I'm thinking that because it arises so much as an asava, that there's much more than we can even imagine.
And is there the idea that by trying it will be known, rather than understanding that this moment of thinking, this moment of understanding arises by conditions, not by any kind of trying? That's the point. It's a bit like when one is making plans. If there's the idea that I can make the plan, or I can arrange things, it's not the understanding that what arises at each moment, each khanda is conditioned. One thinks about the story or the situation. I can try to understand the meaning, but what about the understanding of reality at this very moment, at those times of trying?
Yeah, I see that it's
the Dhamma is
very, very subtle.
Okay, so what?
Ajahn, it's good to know that there's a lot of attachment, more than we know and realize.
What about that which is now appearing? What can be known better?
It's the only what appears can be known.
So without the understanding of that which appears, can there be the understanding that which is good, that? The very subtle self, if it's not as at that moment, who wants or who would like to understand? See, there's no thinking about the I there at all, just thinking about the other thing. So even it's there, it cannot be known. For example, even when there is the understanding, just a moment, then after that, the I hasn't been eradicated yet. And if it's not known, it cannot be eradicated. So only that which is now appearing can be known. And so there can be the understanding of that which experiences, whether it's still I, how much, or how great, or how very weak, depending on Panya. That's the right way to develop understanding. Otherwise, one is trapped again, unknowingly, all the time about what we are talking now. Is there any self or clinging to that as I, unknowingly, until one is asked, where's the self at that moment? See, it's not on the subject that we're talking about or the reality which is now appearing, but it's there as I who just want to know. See, that's why the understanding has to be developed stage by stage. That which is so weak cannot be known in the beginning, but later on, when Panya is so keen and so clear, strong enough, it can understand better and better. That's why if we try to go across this to that object and subject and think about it, it's still I. Where am I? Where is the idea of I? Of the five khandas. And Panya knows whether it's less or not from the understanding of that which appears, not that which is there, that cannot appear as asava. And we try to know it or to eradicate it. It's impossible. But the understanding of that which is now appearing can be conditioned for understanding more and more subtle reality by different degree of panya. No matter how much we talk about the asava now, can it be known or it is there. Even at moment of understanding, understanding is a moment. And what about other moment? I is there as well, which is not known. And this is the point of studying the teachings, so subtle as well. Otherwise, one is trapped all the day, all the time, thinking about this and that, wanting just to know that which does not appear now. So it's not the right way to develop understanding, because no understanding of that which appears now. So how can there be the understanding of that which does not appear now?
Ajahn, it seems the trap is always there. Even after listening to you again, the trap can come again and again and again. So it seems that this is the value of discussions, especially with a wise friend who remind us that we're trapped.
It's good to know, to understand the truth little by little, because Lopa is so very wise. Nothing can be wise to Lopa except Panya only. And it has to be the very strong one to be known in the beginning, not the very, very weak one. Right now, many degrees of Lopa unknown, because there's no understanding of that which appears, no selection, not trying to do or not trying to understand the other thing. Only this appears as that which is not known clearly yet. So listen to the truth of reality just to understand what can be known and what appears can be known. That which does not appear now cannot be known, but can be learned about, that it's there. Asava is there. After 3 moments, after seeing, Sampatichana, Santirana, and then Votapana, and then it's there unknown all the time, because it's so very, very weak. This is the teachings of the Buddha, who understand the subtlety of our dharmas. So after his enlightenment, just then, there's no thinking about teaching yet, because of the subtlety of realities. Even he's the Buddha, he said so. So what about the Savaka, just listening and understanding what is there in oneself, not in the others? How much ignorance in darkness. See, under the ocean, cannot understand what is there at all. Even this, does it bring about the understanding of this moment? Not yet, until conditions are enough to condition moment of direct awareness and the beginning of understanding the characteristic which appears as one has learned so much about it. For example, right now, we learned so much about visible object, but it does not appear as visible object as well, because whenever it appears together with the idea of many things all the time. So how difficult to really go through the truth which is under what appears now in the surface.
Ajahn, can you say more about when a visible object appears, we don't know it, it appears with many ideas. Are you referring to, first of all, we don't know it because of ignorance, and then because of the nimitta and the thinking that follows. Is that what you're meaning?
It needs the wise consideration of what is now appearing. For example, it seems like it's impossible to understand that which appears as nothing in it. But what is the truth? And we're learning about the truth, not just to know it or to understand it intellectually, but to be conditioned for the understanding the truth of what appears as it is. Because what appears now does not appear as it is at all. It appears like a doll, a table, thing, bed, and so on, and everything. But the truth is that before it can be anything like the eye or the eyebrow, or even the hair or what, it must be so many moments of experiencing. It seems like at once, but actually, how many chittas are there before what can appear as something? That's why even in the Kayanupassana Satipatthana, it says that which is as a lump, there are so many realities like the Mahaputarupa, not only one, but four. See, and what about that which arise together to condition the thought of things of whatever appears? So Dhamma is so very, very intricate that it needs the wise consideration to really understand the truth, that it's not easy to penetrate at all. But from understanding it, what is seen cannot be anything at all. It is that which can impinge on the eye best. It's real, it's true, because seeing arises to see it. See, it means that which can impinge and be the object at that very moment, not other object at all. See, before it can be so strong enough to understand the truth of each reality, which now does not appear as it is at all, but it appears as nimitta all day and all time, even right now. But if there is no understanding of the truth of anything, there cannot be any condition to realize the noble truth, even the first one. And what about the second one? Harder to understand because it's there lurking all the time in the secret place of anything which appears, but not the object which is the rupa, but that which experiences as I from life to life, eons and eons ago. That's why only understanding the teaching and understand the difference between intellectual understanding and the direct awareness of our reality right now. It's the beginning of the development of panya to attain the moment of pativeta, just begin to understand the truth of it. But it's only the taruna vipassana, see? So long way to go. But when there is more understanding of that which is now appearing, not just intellectually, but it has to be direct awareness of just one object that we learn about. It's the absolute characteristic as no one there, only that which can be object through different doorways. No one.
Ajahn, when you said just now that the reality does not appear as it is, but appears as nimitta, do you mean by nimitta in here as a concept?
Even of each, like nimitta of eyebrow, nimitta of nose. See, at that moment of nimitta, of that which is seen, that which is not heard, because there is no touching at that moment. It's the moment of developing understanding by anatta-ness, you see, because what is that you think that it's not as difficult as the idol is hardness. See? Before hearing the teaching, hardness appears as it is, but the thought of things comes in very, very rapidly. But so many moments and processes of reality, of experience that before it can be anything. But even when only hardness appear, not as anything yet, there is doubt and there is no understanding of that as just no one. It's still something there. See? So it's more subtle than thinking about the thing as covered or whatever is there. Only hardness cannot be known as it is without right understanding, as nothing there anymore, just appear and disappear. See? So now, seeing all there, because even there is hardness, there is seeing as well. It seems like there cannot be any moment without seeing while one is not asleep. See? But no understanding of it as it is, because the idea of many things around. But for hardness, even it's there, no understanding of it as not self. So one can see that how deeply the idea of self is there. Only understanding with respect, very great respect to the truth that Buddha showed, that it cannot be anything because it's just arise, after it cannot appear, and Panyamo knows or understand or insight the truth of it, that it cannot be taken for I because it arises and falls away. And that is not enough. Panya has to grow on and on and on until it comes to the third noble truth. See, realizing this is the path, this moment of discussing about reality, and there's beginning the idea of no self, of no one at all. It is not hindered by the idea of I want to know this or I want to know that, what is that, or what is this, trying to find out. But Panya knows that as long as it's not clear yet, even from the very beginning, the intellectual understanding, it cannot grow, it cannot be sharpened at all. That's why the understanding of what is heard or what is read, just one word at a time, more and more about anatta-ness, Dhamma or Dhammas are anatta. This is not forgotten from the very beginning, to read or to listen with the understanding of no I. Otherwise the I can be there, lurking, hiding all the time, unknown all the time. That's why it has to be the second noble truth. If it's not eliminated yet, it's impossible because it's so thick that it hinders the truth. Like now, there is moment of that which appears and it disappears unknown because of attachment to that which arises after that. Always, each moment, see? So it hides whatever appears, the truth of it is not known. Until Panya begin to let go, even the word let go from the very beginning of listening and thinking about it. No one, but it's so very difficult. And one has to be so honest and sincere and truthful to the truth that it's only there and still there is doubt. So doubt can appear as not self. Everything appears not as self from the very beginning to the end. Otherwise, right understanding of no self cannot develop. So now it's self who would like to, want to, wish to all the time, even so very, very little. Even it's so very weak, but that which is strong appear to be known as no one, no self. So it has to be the object of the moment, any moment, when there are conditions enough for right understanding to begin to understand directly of just one object at a time, even that is not clear yet, because even it's there, the other objects still are around, because the rapidity of the succession of each processes or each reality. But Panya begins to understand, no matter how weak, no matter how little, it knows that if there's no development of Satipatthana, it's impossible to understand the truth of what we are talking about, to be conditioned for such moment. With the idea of no self, no one, and how very little it can eliminate wrong understanding and ignorance. And this is the Kathawattu, or the words which will eliminate attachment. Otherwise, nothing can eliminate the attachment at all. The great master of ignorance, not understanding anything because of it, with avijja or moha. Does moha appear now? So what appears, can that only be object of right understanding? From moment to moment, by conditions. By conditions is the condition to have less and less attachment.
Ajahn Ka, what role does sanya play in the development of panya?
No matter when sanya remembers.
Yes, remembers everything because it arises with every citta, so it marks and remembers. So it was, we were talking on Saturday about anatta sanya, and it got me thinking about sanya. Like, we hear these words often here on Zoom, plus, you know, the years that we've studied. So sanya is marking all that information. So is it one of the conditions for panya to arise?
Is there sanya at the moment when you are talking?
There must be.
See, it's there any moment.
Right.
Then, would anyone still like to understand it? Or just know that all dhammas are anatta, even it's there. It depends on condition, whether it becomes or appear as the object or not yet. Even thinking each word without sanya is impossible. But sanya is not known at all, anytime, because it arises with each citta.
Right. It does arise with each citta.
Yeah.
But it's also a kanda on its own, like sanya kanda. So it is quite important.
So if sanya does not appear and the understanding of reality as itself as anatta, sanya marks that. So is there now atta sanya or anatta sanya?
I think atta sanya. I don't think it's anatta sanya at the moment.
Because the anatta-ness of sanya does not appear as object. Even at moment of vipassana jnana, no selection, what can be the object? It can be sanya, it can be whatever it is. Each is different.
Right. So maybe I'm placing a bit too much importance on it in the role. But it occurred to me, well, it became a little clearer on Saturday discussion that Sanya, yes, I've learned before that it's arises with every jitta, but it just became more important or something. I mean, it's obviously marking what we hear, well, see, everything, but it marks what's understood as well, no?
Yes, because it's not self. It arises and performs its function. Every moment when citta arises with every citta, it arises with sampatitana, santirana, votapana, seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching. At moment of seeing, who knows about sanya, which arises with seeing? It's there already. It remembers, it performs its function. No one knows that it's there. Even while talking, it's there. With each citta, which thinks about each word. This is intellectual understanding. See, we understand the truth that intellectual is this, to understand what's there, but no direct awareness yet of anyone. So how can there be the understanding of sanya, which is now performing its function, like other cetasikas and citta? Without the teachings, one is so blind. Blindness is there, not understanding anything which appears right now, or which is there right now, as sanya or phassa or manasikara or ekata, whatever.
And now when there's thinking about what has been heard without Sanya having marked each sound, whatever was experienced, there couldn't be any thinking wisely or unwisely. So it all depends on Sanya marking each sound heard, each visible object seen, each idea thought about. Without it, there couldn't be this discussion at all.
It gives a good intellectual description of anatta. I mean, when when you think about it's marking every single jitta, or it arises with every jitta, and it marks everything without me knowing anything about it. Yeah. Thank you. ขอบคุณค่ะอาจารย์
Ajahn, it is, I mean, in my thinking that wrong view arises a lot and panya very little. And so I'm wondering why not the wrong view makes it harder for panya to arise?
At moment of taking that which is not something as something, is it right or wrong?
As something is wrong.
And that is what? Attasanya. Something. Where it's nothing. Just appears and disappears instantly. Where are they? Nothing appears as just arises and falls away because there's so many things together when it's something. As long as it is something, it is nothing. It cannot be nothing. But the truth is the truth. Nothing, always nothing. Because from nothing, then something, and then nothing again. So very rapidly, before anyone can understand that which appears is gone.
And at that moment, the sanya arises with wrong understanding.
This moment, no matter what. Pavanga, see, Panchatavara Vachana, whatever it has sanya as its factor for citta to arise. Just learn to understand that there's no self in truth. Until then, when it appears to stability, until it's so clear as it is, as no one there at all. No arms, no legs, no head, no forehead, no eyes at all. At moment of a characteristic is there to be known clearly. Nothing can be there together.
Ajahn, how is it that understanding develops little by little in spite of the fact that wrong view arises much more?
At moment of right understanding, there is no wrong view. That's the way it gradually eliminates the idea of wrong view.
But wrong view also accumulate.
Right? That's why it's not easy at all to get rid of wrong view. Only understanding can know it as a reality, not self.
Are you saying that each time Panya understands wrong view as wrong view?
Yes, because wrong view cannot be other things else.
And that understanding shows the power of right understanding over wrong understanding.
Okay, is there wrong understanding now?
I don't know, Ajahn.
It does not appear as object, but when it's there and Panya develops to know it, when Panya get rid of it or does not cling to it at all, because it just arises and falls away. And know the way from in the beginning, when one goes wrong, without Panya, how can there be the understanding that it's the wrong way? Even trying a little bit is not the way, it's not the right way, because the Eightfold Path, there's no intention or cetana at all. So when there is a moment of trying to concentrate or to do something at all, Panya knows that it's wrong. See, when it knows what's right, it knows what's wrong. What is wrong is there to be known because there is right understanding which knows that it's wrong.
And wrong cannot be right.
At moment of right understanding is not wrong. See, that is the way to understand.
And Ajahn, this one can begin, Panya can begin to know this, has to begin to know this at an intellectual level.
How? It's now.
Yes. At an intellectual level. Is that, I guess that's pariyatti understanding.
So we learn from the very beginning, there's no self, there are only the absolute realities, which are citta and cetasika and rupa, see, which appears as it is. Seeing cannot be hearing, cannot be anything at all. Thinking cannot be seeing. So understanding is not seeing, thinking, but it's moment of understand what's there. In the very beginning, just about this moment, not the exact moment yet, because it's not high degree of intellectual panya. So the thing that can be known after intellectual understanding is moment of bright awareness when it's there. That it's different from other moment, which is only intellectual understanding. Panya knows whatever as it is.
Yes, it would only be.
So
would
weak
be-
Panya knows that it's not strong yet. So when it's so very little, like asava, as weak as that, even it's not asava, but it cannot be known right now, developing, not I, the Cetasika, Sankhara Khanda, performing the function of each moment. That's why no one knows how it develops just from moment to moment, from stage to stage, from one object to another object. And don't mind about that, which is not known, because they are all gone. No regret, because the understanding of no self there. Before it can be that stage, see, it does not disturb the I, which would like to it to be this or that level of understanding. So only panya can let go, depending on the degree of panyas.
Ajahn, your mention of Sankara Khanda reminded me that last week, I think when you had a technical problem, Sukin was asking about Sankara Khanda and why Chaitana is given priority, because we know that Sankara Khanda refers to the 50 Chaitasikas, not other than Sanya and Vedana, but why it's Chaitana and the other Chaitasikas, why it's Sankara Khanda with Chaitana's priority. I think that was your question, Sukin, is that right?
Yes. Why Chetana is mentioned as Chetana and the other Chetasikas, the other. Why Chetana and other Chetasikas?
Would you like to change?
No, I would like to understand, Ajahn, why it is that
But
way.
that's the way it is. Shall we say that? As much as our panya of this level, not as the Buddha's level. But you see that as the 5 khandas are there, one is rupa, so the 4 nama khandas, there is always vedana, right? That can be known, no matter it is neutral or happy, or unhappy, unpleasant feeling, but it depends on conditions. But it's there. Even it's there to be known, it's not known according to many conditions, but it can be known. So because it arises with each chitta like other Chitasika or Sankhara Khanda, but all the Sankhara Khanda, like the Manasikara, can it be known as Sanya and Vedana and Phassa, Sankhara Khanda? Can it be known as Vedana and Sanya? That's why what is always the object of clinging, Upadana, are 5. The rupa is 1, which cannot experience anything. So the 4 namakhandas, Vedana is always there to be known sometime, even not always, even it must be one Chetana at each moment. But when it's in different feeling, it cannot be known as when it is pleasant or unpleasant, pain or bodily feeling. See, that's why there is clinging to that all day, all night, just wish to have pleasant Vedana of all moments in life. So it clings to that Vedana so much. Without sanya, can they be clinging to Vedana? No memory, no marks of that kind of feeling at all. But it's there as an important reality which condition or other citasikas as well. When we talk about what can be known, I remember this, it's there, it's that, it's me, it's my friend, and everything in a day. So it's there to be known, depending on, there can be moment of, oh, I forgot. See, I could remember that. But sanya is there to know the difference between moment of remembering and moment without remembering of things, but it's there to know that it's different moments. See, so that can be known even right now. But for the cetasikas, which does not arise with its citta, because akusala cetasikas cannot arise with kusala moment, but even the seven one, what can be known? Phassa cannot be known. Does one cling to phassa? Unknowingly, because without phassa, nothing can appear at all. No experiencing of any object, see, but it needs the words of the Buddha to understand what are there at each moment. And even right then, sanya marks and remembers. So if there is no understanding of sanya as not self, there must be the idea of self. Sanya vipalasa all the time. When there are kusalam citta, see. That's why how Dhamma can condition moment without any moment of akusala Dhamma can arise together. See, it's quite a very, very subtle subject all day, all time, talking about what Buddha enlightened, the whole truth of everything, anywhere in the world, in the universal, nothing that he couldn't know. See, but what he taught is only that we can, as much as being able to understand. Even the Savaka, the Sariputta, didn't have the same understanding as Buddha as much. But what is there to be known greater than the other Savaka. See, depending on conditions and who are we. Just follow the words, and before there can be more understanding, it takes time, depending on the accumulation of each one from life to life. And Lopa is there. Nobody knows. It conditioned moment of thinking about this and that, wanting to understand this and that, but not understanding that which is now appearing. That is not a function of Lopa. So now, whisper object appears not as it is, until hearing again and again about the truth. So at moment of hearing, no thought about other thing. It begins to be direct understanding of seeing, little by little, when there's more understanding. Not just try to concentrate on it to understand. Impossible. It needs intellectual so great to be satyayana, to condition direct awareness with the panya which has been heard and understood, to understand that moment as what one has heard. No one in it, nothing in it. Only when it appears, otherwise things comes in instantly, so fast of the rapidity of the arising and falling away of different processes. And that which there is completely gone, never to return. What follows is not the same one which has been there and gone completely, absolutely. All this understanding of all these words begin to develop by itself from moment to moment. No one can do anything. No one is there to speed it up or to try so hard to have it more. Impossible. It's now working each reality differently. Not anyone can exchange or change it. What word which can reduce or have less attachment is the word of the Buddha.
Ajahn, earlier in this discussion, like maybe 10 or 15 minutes ago, I thought I heard you say something like, even when hardness appears, it's so brief, then we think it's something. And by appears, I'm looking at a distinction between arises and appears. Many jittas arise unknown, and the same with rupa. But when it appears, are you saying that it appears to panya? Or in the case of seeing, no, we're hardness, okay. In the case of touching, is it, it's going to be, may seem strange, is it because, like we think we know hardness, but in fact we really don't. So when you refer to it, when it appears very briefly, is that talking about when it first starts to appear at a stage, I guess, of pati, we still think it's something. Is that because of the brevity of its appearance, or because not enough panya to know it as a reality?
Only Panya can know that. Panya is so truthful. It knows the truth of whatever is there, little by little. For example, at moment of hardness appears, is there anything else which appears?
No, at the moment it appears to panya, no.
Not to panya. When there's no panya, it appears to ignorance.
Okay, I see what you're talking.
Hardness is experienced now, and then
Yes.
there's the idea of something.
Yes, because it appears to ignorance. I see.
So just when it's experienced, like that each, like now are experienced, but usually to ignorance and attachment. And that's why usually there's the idea of something. Actually, it's nothing at all because it's gone instantly, but taken for.
Okay, I understand the context in which you're using appears now, appearing to ignorance. If it appeared to panya, there would, at a moment of hardness that appeared to panya, there would only be hardness. There would not be anything else.
But it's only hardness, no matter whether it's experienced by ignorance or understanding.
Yes, I
hardness,
understand.
nothing. But when it's experienced by ignorance or appears to ignorance, it's taken as something.
Yeah. Right.
But it's only ever hardness.
Right.
And it's gone instantly. It's just the nimitta that appears afterwards. So when it's said nothing, something, nothing. Actually, it's the hardness or the seeing. It's not anything, and it's gone immediately. But so, in fact, nothing appears, but the reality, because the realities are gone instantly, but they're taken for something because of the ignorance.
Because of the ignorance. Okay, thank you.
You can just hear Jonathan coming back.
And the truth is this moment, it appears to what?
Ignorance. And that's an intellectual understanding that only Panya would know. Would directly know ignorance. Is that right? Only Panya could directly understand ignorance. We can say it appears to ignorance.
Ignorance cannot understand anything.
No, no, it doesn't.
Understanding in the moment of what is now appearing.
I'm sorry, Tanajan, I didn't hear what you said just a moment ago.
Okay. When there is ignorance, ignorance cannot understand whatever is there.
Right, yes.
At moment of understanding, it understands no ignorance at all. At that very moment, they cannot arise together.
Correct. Obviously correct, but yes, yes.
So what knows that? Panya
Panya.
only can understand that.
Panya.
It is.
Yeah.
When there is no understanding, it's no understanding. And when there is understanding, it's different from that which experience it.
Different from ignorance, different from when ignorance experiences it.
That's why even direct awareness with understanding has to be developed from just very weak to more and more understanding, little by little, very, very gradually.
Yes.
And then when it's known, it's known. And so Panya is a different level of the beginning of it.
Yes, I see.
And that is the way Dhamma is. No way, nobody can change because actually there's no one.
Yes. Changing direction a bit, I'm wondering, I've been thinking about conceit. And as I've understood it, it's waving some, it's been what compared to waving a flag, bringing attention to yourself, comparing, making comparisons with other people or making comparisons. But I have a feeling, or I have a sense that it's much deeper and much more subtle than that. Can you talk about that a bit, Ajahn?
Yes, on Saturday, we talk about this with Kunina.
Okay.
About conceit. And I asked her, are you Nina Van Gorham? So, are you Anne Marshall? see?
I think the answer is no, but I think I'm Anne Marshall.
And the I is different
Yeah.
from the other, right?
It's different from what? I'm sorry. The I is different from,
Others.
yes, yes, yes. Okay. So we're talking about very subtle differences. Anything different between, yes, I and the next person, or you and I. It sounds like it's taking one for a self.
Not only self, but with the others, different from the others.
Okay.
It's the idea of one's own importance at that time. Different
Although,
from
of course, we can speak of I without thinking of the importance of oneself as just a means of communication. Is that right?
But usually, like as soon as there's the idea, are you, and are you, it can be just a means of communication, but it's like with the ditthi, usually it is the idea, yes, that's me, it's my
That's me, yeah.
importance, different from the other ones.
I mean,
It's
and
not,
I mean, only an arahata can be sure to not have mana.
That's true. Right. I in the sense of distinguishing yourself from others, or distinguish one uses it to distinguish oneself from others, neither of which exist.
on account of the seeing now, or the hearing now, and the thinking now, which have actually, each one has gone instantly. So it's so ridiculous, one can understand in theory, to have any mana on account of seeing, or what is seen, or hearing, or what is heard, or thinking of, or what is thought, because it's gone immediately. The idea of Anne is gone. There is no Anne, but that conceit, finding it special, this particular kind of thinking, or this particular kind of seeing, or this.
Almost like this. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Or subtle layers of mana. Even
It's the subtle, yeah. It's the subtle I was wondering about, yes.
So this distinguishing oneself from others is quite separate from the view one has of whether or not there's a lasting self or anything, any permanent reality behind the seeing and the hearing.
Can you explain that a bit further, Jonathan?
They are different notions that, so the idea of a self involves the idea of something lasting or permanent, something apart from the seeing and hearing and thinking. Whereas distinguishing oneself from others doesn't involve any kind of notion of whether there's a lasting, enduring entity. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was thinking earlier when Ajahn was talking about experiencing hardness as something, as how automatic when there's hardness, there's thinking about where that hardness is being experienced. And I think that there already the mana can come in.
In what way, Sukin?
Even before you think it's my hand is touching the table or the chair, mana can come in before that even. When there's, it doesn't have to be the idea of my hand, but it's already somewhere on your body, or before the thought that it's my body.
And that again is thinking of something that's mine and lasting.
or it's somewhere here, you know, not as against there. It's the hardness here.
So what about the thought that that's a table, that's a chair?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that clearly, Jonathan.
I was addressing actually Sukin.
Okay.
What about the thought that's a table, that's a chair?
Yeah, that can happen. So it's either touching something or I'm touching something. Something's being touched or there's.
No, I'm just talking about identifying different objects.
Oh, different objects. No, in that case, it's just some object, a chair, a mouse, a computer screen. Just identifying something is not necessarily mana. But when there's I'm seeing, oh, your screen is frozen, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, so we're not hearing Sarah and Jonathan. It looks like your screen is frozen.
Now we can see again it's frozen.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Hello, can
Yes.
sorry, I dropped out and I've reconnected using mobile hotspot, so I hope that's going to be more stable. So I was asking Sukin about the thought that that's a computer on the table. There's a computer on the table.
That would appear to be just thinking with ignorance attachment, not mana.
And can it be the same for that person? That's Piner, I can see there.
Can be, yes, it can be. But what I'm saying is that the mana can arise even then, before there's an idea of my hand.
Well, if we've lost Sarah and Jonathan again.
No.
Oh, here we come.
Yeah.
The other day, there was a discussion about the whole point that when Ajahn was stressing that when Panya is strong enough, there's no doubt about how that any Dhamma can arise unexpectedly because it's anatta, but otherwise there's always studying or thinking with the idea of self, and that grows and grows and grows. And we could say also with mana, so there's always the idea that it's something or it's me and others, different from just the understanding of dhammas arising unexpectedly by conditions.
Well, I go back to some of the discussions I remember from the past where we've talked about the difference between mana and ditthi. So in these situations where, for instance, Jonathan, you mentioned, oh, that's paina, could be with mana. So I guess I'm not understanding this well yet. Is that because you're thinking of something as a, for instance, in this case, paina as something, something that really is, for instance, a lasting being? That seems to me to be very, very close to ditthi. or like ditty?
No, I was not suggesting that. I was just trying to make the point that it doesn't have to be either mana or ditty. It can be just ordinary attachment, or because. And I was wondering about the seeing one's hand and arm, and I was probably trying to suggest that there can be thinking about one's own body without necessarily any idea of mana or ditty. It can just
Right.
be ordinary akusala, if I'll put it that way.
Ignorance.
Ignorance, yeah, attachment.
I think I may have
Self-attachment.
heard there.
Mhm.
But there's so much unknown mana and so much unknown ditty. We cannot say there's no mana or ditty at those moments, because only
No.
Panya can know more subtle layers.
For sure.
Right, we can't say they're absent, but we can say their characteristic doesn't appear.
Yes.
So again, the purpose of discussing these different realities is not necessarily to know at any given moment which kind of unwholesomeness it is, but to understand the different kinds and their characteristics so that when they appear, they can be known.
Right. And until they appear to Panya,
Yeah.
difficult to
No,
know.
amount of analysis, until they appear to Panya, no amount of analysis will give a
Right.
correct picture of,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
But we have Sutta Maya Panya, Chinta Maya Panya, and Bhavana Maya Panya.
Mm.
So when it's Sutta Maya Panya, Chinta Maya Panya, it's a concept that's the object of understanding.
So the direct understanding has to be preceded by intellectual understanding.
Yes. Right.
And so that's why we discuss the different realities, not necessarily to try and pinpoint right now which reality it is, but because that kind of discussion can be a condition for awareness to arise at some time later, not necessarily now.
Yes, and that's what intellectual understanding is all about. And I see more and more the need for it.
Hmm.
Do others have something? Tadao, did you have anything to ask today?
No, I'm okay.
Okay.
I see Connie is with us. That's very nice
Yeah.
to see. Hey.
Yeah, very glad to see you're there, Connie. Ajahn, if no one else has any question, I have a topic that some friends often ask on DSG, which relates to death and how the Abhidhamma Sangha often mentions weighty, death, proximate, habitual, reserved kinds of karma. And we know we have to consider carefully, because people jump to the conclusions that death proximate means whatever karma that is done closest to death is most likely to bring a result. But we know that this isn't true, because deeds from lifetimes long ago can bring results, and that karma conditions the last Javana cheetahs close to death, bringing results by way of death and further vipaka. But they often refer to the simile of the animal close to the gate of the pen, and how the animal closest goes out first, as suggesting that the karmas closest to the time of death bring results. Could you make any comments on this, please?
Okay. Can that be death now?
Yes.
What karma will condition next life?
Any karma from the past, which conditions the
It's a,
Dhamma just before this moment of death, yes.
before death, we know what conditioned the moment before death. 5 moments. See?
Yes.
And then can
Condition.
be known as what karma conditioned that. Because
We-
each object is not known before death,
Yeah.
because death can be right now. What object is there? What chittas are there? Before death, unknown. Even right now, it cannot be known. So how can there be the experiencing of that which is known as that? Before death, it can be right now. What is there now before death, right now? It's not-
Kusala or akusala chittas.
Can it be known that it is akusala chitta?
Only if there's understanding at that moment. But even then, it's gone already.
So even what karma is there is unknown. What are all dhammas today and yesterday and last year and are not known. So how can
Yeah.
there be that which condition the karma, the object of chitta at that moment to be known? Impossible. No matter how much one think about it right now, it can be death right now.
Yes,
Even
only the
whether it is
no.
what kind of chitta, can it be known without panya? See?
No.
But death can come after moment of direct awareness or any chitta, kusala or akusala, depending on one karma in samsara. So how can it be known? Because even in this life, it's not known how many karmas. And what about eons and eons ago? The karma can bring about the moment before death right now to experience such and such object. Just talk
Yes.
about that which cannot be known. And what about now, which can be directly experienced with higher panya, but which, if there's no beginning of panya, it's impossible to reach that level at all. Like we are talking about mana, see, different from ditti. Is mana asava?
No.
See,
Yes.
even mana, it cannot be asava. Only those asavas, which are kamasava, bhavasava, titthasava, and avijjasava. Only 4, but they cannot be known. But mana is mananusaya. As long as it hasn't been eradicated, it's there. And no one noticed whenever it's there because it's a kusala moment. For example, thinking of the hand, it can be with mana or with titi. Is your hand different from the others? See, different from, it's my hand, different moment. That's why before it can be known, even in the Arupa Brahma plane, it's much more intricate or very deep than that which can be known in this life as human being. But what is true is true. It's not a lion or a cat or a human being or anyone. Dhamma must be Dhamma for all moments as not self. That's why it depends on whether there is how strong panya is there to be known of such level of akusala and kusala. So as much which we can think about moment when it's there. When you are in the restaurant and the, what you call, the one who serves does not pay attention to you at that moment, it can be anger. It entity is asava, and it can be mana at that moment. See, when it's there, no word, but its characteristic appears unknown. And there is the idea of self all there as asava and so on. That's why Only when Panya is strong enough to understand what can be known, can be known. But there can be a moment of thinking a little about its difference. It is not as Titi, because Titi does not know that it's only just a moment which is so short, from nothing and then something and then nothing again. What's the use of just be there for just a very short moment? Whatever is there, no matter mana or titi or what, but it is different from other things. Mana is the proud or pride or think of you as something very important or as very little important. It's still there. See, even there is no one at all, but it's mine with proud, so proud of it, or it just my finger or my nail or whatever is there. It's a very short moment arising by conditions and then gone instantly. That's why just begin to understand little by little, as much as we can understand. But as Anagami can be born in the Aruba Brahma plane, no one there at all. But there is condition for the moment when it's there to be known, to become Arhata. See, different levels of Panya. So when we are at this level, we cannot know what is there, which is higher level. But it can be known that as long as there is anusaya, there is condition for its arising. But it does not always arise all the time, like other reality, which can be asava, and then can go very close later. It depends. So now we are talking about moment before death. Is that not the same as talking about that which hasn't come yet? Because what is there now is not known. So as this moment is not known, how can there be the understanding or knowing what is there? But we know that there must be different objects by different karma for different chittas to experience it, to condition the moment of rebirth consciousness after death. That's all. Otherwise, you might know what happens before last life, before last moment of life.
So the simile that is mentioned about the animal close to the gate of the pain, and that is the one that goes out first. Can one say that that's just referring to the last Javana cheetahs, perhaps? Because otherwise it sounds like it's the karma closest to the time of death bringing results, which we know isn't right, because it can be any karma. So it's just referring to those last cheetahs before death that bring the result. Can we say that?
We just want to say or to know what we say is true or not. Because you see that can it be known which karma in what life and what is there before death? What object is there? By what? What condition? Such citta which experience such object. As it cannot be known, but what can be known is that there are many karmas. It depends on what karma condition the next life, next moment before death.
I just mention it because it's such a common misunderstanding. Always bringing up this point, completely misunderstood.
What did you say? I cannot hear well.
I said I've just brought this up because it's such a common misunderstanding, and that's why people think, oh, it's the karma just before death that has such an impact, and they quote this example, but not realizing actually it can be any karma from any time that brings its result unexpectedly.
Yeah,
so
only when
I think
other karmas are not
yes,
ready to condition the next moment after life.
yes. So it's just not understanding the conditioned nature of dhammas at all, and then they have an idea they can influence the last karma, but actually it's no understanding about karma.
Who can?
So I think simile is misunderstood.
Ajahn, What is meant by karma from the past conditioning the last jhana? What does it mean? I don't understand.
Okay, at this moment of seeing, what conditioned that moment?
Past karma.
Start of karma, but what karma conditions seeing right now?
We don't know.
We don't know. So at moment of death, can it be known?
No.
Or only thinking?
Yes. But seeing is vipaka, and the last jhana before death is not vipaka. It's either kusala or akusala. So it's different from seeing, hearing, smelling, touching.
Yes, but what conditions such moment to experience such object? No selection at all. Who knows what is the object before death? So the chitta is kusala or akusala by conditions.
Yes, but I don't understand the concept of
Use the moment after death. That's why there must be the chitta which condition the next moment to be what kind of vipaka, kusala vipaka or akusala vipaka.
that, but that would be not a vipaka itself. So what does it mean that it's a past, it's from past karma, that chitta, that javana chitta before death is the result of past karma? What does that mean?
That before this is akusala. What is the vipaka of the moment before death, which is akusala? When the chitta before death is kusala, what condition the moment of birth after death? But it's not just that kusala and akusala, it depends on one karma in samsara, which is quite ready for such movement to condition next life. The other karma cannot, it's not ready yet. See, it depends on the readiness of the karma which can produce the moment of birth. That's why the chitta before death is kusala or akusala, depending on that karma, which conditions such moment to experience such object.
But Ajahn, as I understand it, karma conditions vipaka.
Right?
And
So what chitta is there before death? Conditioned by that karma, which condition the moment of experiencing such object that no one can make it arise at all. But the karma which will produce the next life conditions such moments before death as aramana, because we don't know what karma, even right now, what aramana will be next. Never known. So at that moment, what is there to be object of patisanti citta, which share or follow the same as the birth has gone, it is there by conditions. No process, no experiencing of anything through eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind yet. So how come to experience such moment? Which there must be that moment, which there must be citta after death.
ordinarily,
It cannot be seeing or hearing any vipaka, only that which is the vipaka of karma, which conditions such moment in such object before death, to condition the moment before, after death, the birth moment from the moment of death instantly by condition, which one karma condition the citta before death to have the same object as the object of that which is experienced before death. That is the result of that karma, to experience such object.
Sukin, so this is a little bit like a story, but sometimes I hear people mentioning examples like there can be recollections of deeds that have been done in the past. So what what arises to be the objects then, like the deeds that have been done in the past. So also the same kind of chitta at that moment arise again. So that's how I think it's a little bit mixed between the stories, but that's what I'm thinking about.
Yeah, I thought about that too. But that's still thinking, like now, right now there's thinking either of the seeing that has just fallen away, or it can be just thinking about something that happened yesterday. But that is the thinking then. But when it's said that it's karma from the past, that I don't understand. Karma from the past, why not just say it's just thinking about something that happened in the past?
What is the object of seeing right now? How come to be conditioned for seeing just to see this, not the other objects? Because we know that seeing is vipaka. It has to be the result of a karma. No one knows what karma, but there must be karma which can produce the moment of seeing of such object, see, by karma, not the other objects. Whether it's pleasant or unpleasant, it has to be such. It's the same as moment of death, no difference at all. As what is the object of condition is like what is the object of seeing right now. But it's not yet the moment of death because the karma which produced birth of this life is not ended yet. But when it's ended, it's just like now. No selection for any object like now. And the seeing or whatever is there is conditioned by upanishyapatya of the collection of karma, and only one karma produced that moment of citta before death, which is javana. So 5 moments. So weak.
I think of it, Sukin, as those cheetahs as the means by which karma brings its result. And it's not just conditioned by karma, but also by Pakatu Upanisya Pachya, because the karma has been accumulated, so many conditions at play together. So it's those last cheetahs experiencing that object, which will be the object of the first moment of the next life, conditioned by karma. So they are the means for karma to bring that birth, that result, supported by Pakatu Upanisya Pachya and other conditions. But it's a very, it's not an easy point, I know.
As death hasn't come yet, what about understand this moment as what condition seeing right now or hearing right now? Because someone sees and the other hears. By what condition? Or no condition at all? Or the conditions are so complex that cannot be known. Only the result of it is known. That's why it says in the Tipitaka, the karma cannot be known as the result of karma cannot be known right now. From where?
So complex and supported by so many other conditions. So it has to be just this one and not any other one.
If now
it's the same way as now.
Of the karma which conditions see right now, the moment before death can be known, but now it cannot be known. So what about the moment of death? Can it be known? When this moment is not known, cannot be known. What karma conditions seeing of such object, no other object at all.
So even now, we don't know which karma and what are the different conditions. So it's like now, isn't it, Ajahn?
The same moment, any moment before death must be like this. The karma cannot be known, what karma produced or conditioned this moment to see such this, only this, not other objects.
So Ajahn, what's the point of making that distinction that there are different conditions to produce that last jhana? What's the point? Since it's all like now.
And the absolute point is there is no I, no thing. There are nothing, because just arise by conditions and no more, fall away permanently, forever, never to return, each one. Otherwise, there must be the idea of I and things all the time. And this is the only way to understand it. Nothing cannot be controlled, no one at all. So how can there be someone, or I can do, or I can understand the moment of before death or after death? Or even right now, it's not known yet. As much as there can be the understanding, not me, it's not I, it cannot be anything else. It has to be just it.
It's 7 o'clock
Having
now.
more I to understand this and that.
It's our 2 hours is up now. It's 7 o'clock now. It's actually 9 o'clock in Bangkok. So I think we should close for now and let Ajahn get on with her day.
Sawadee ka, Ajahn, and
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Dinner.
You.
See you all next week, I hope.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.
Yes,
Thank you, everyone.
bye-bye.
Hello, Tom.
And you're saying, I hope, because we're just talking about the last jhana before that.
Yes.
Not only that.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Azita will be in touch.
Okay, I'll email you.
Okay, thank you.
Hello.
Bye,
hello.
Paina.
Bye-bye.
Oh, Roti had internet problems today. That's why he wasn't here.
Oh,
and
okay.
Who is
Yeah.
Doot? You know who Doot is?
I do.
Roti.
I'm wondering if he's from the Nina, the Dutch discussion group in the Netherlands.
Right. That'd figure. Yeah, with a
We
name like
haven't
that.
met. We haven't met him before.
No.
No.
Nice to see you,
Bye-bye,
Paina.
everyone. Bye, everyone.
Okay. Hope so.
Bye-bye.
Bye.